Thank you. The space shuttle is the most complicated piece of equipment ever devised by man. And over the last 50 years, governments and companies have developed more and more complicated technology and equipment. And we live with all that technology. And it's amazing how we continue to push the envelope. It's really no surprise because we tend to want to build bigger. We want to go further and push the envelope. But it creates a more complex environment, whether we're business leaders or consumers, in trying to decide what product to buy, what technology to use. When it comes to the financial world, over the last couple years, we've faced incredible, bringing us right to the brink of collapse. And it's amazing how interdependent all these points across the world are, whether it's the mortgage problem in the US, or it's oil spills in the Gulf, the tsunami that wrecked the atomic reactor in Japan, the debt crisis in Greece. They're all interrelated. But the one thing that always amazes me is how the investment community has made it clear to us that if you want to retire comfortably, invest in the market. And they've simplified this and removed all this concern about all these potential collapses that could happen. Another system, I must have skipped a slide, so I'll move on. With this fancy build, you can't go forward. What that leaves consumers with is this real battlefield of choice. So many, if you really think about it, all the decisions we face every day are amazing. And it's much more than what size of drink am I going to get at Starbucks. It's what size of plasma TV am I going to get? Which way am I going to avoid the traffic on the way to work? Which employee am I going to hire? Which objective am I going to set as the highest priority? More and more choices that really have to be dealt with on an individual basis, but it's overwhelming for consumers. And a perfect example of this is the entertainment retail business. And in the US alone, there's 140,000 full-length movies available. And on top of that, about 500 million TV shows. So how do customers decide? And before they even get to which movie, today they've got to decide which technology. Are they going to play it on their living room television? Are they going to play it on their laptop, on their iPad, on their smartphone? All these are questions they have to answer. And that's before they get to which movie. Am I in the mood for comedy? Am I in the mood for action? All these make very tough decisions for consumers. And while these are tough decisions, it's interesting how entertainment retailers have approached this. And when I was at Netflix, what we wanted to do was to make every title available. And the problem with that is that our customers couldn't decide what movie is going to hit the spot that night. And so we had to do two things. The first thing is we built a technology called Cinematch, which helped find the movie that would fit your mood. And this goes back to whether you're in the mood for a comedy or action. The problem was, by the time you received that film, which might be 1 day or 2 days later, you're no longer in that mood. And so we had to also combine that with a business model that allowed you to keep the movie long enough for the mood to come back. And the combination of that now is generating about 24 million subscribers who love the service, and despite the price increase, there's still a great business there. At Redbox, we took a different approach. We knew that 80% of all the demand for movies, whether it's in the movie theater, at rental, purchasing at Amazon, is centered around a very small set of titles. In fact, it's only 140 titles a year represent 80% of all the demand for movie entertainment. And we said, why drag the customer down these virtual aisles of, yes, high margin product, but product they really didn't want to have to be dragged through. It's very similar at a 7-Eleven or a grocery store. Why do you think they put the milk and the beer at the back of the store? It's to drag you through all these junk food products that you know aren't good for you, that you end up buying, but they're high margin. We took a different approach and we said, we're just going to present the top titles that we know you want. Another way to simplify your product to your customer. And by doing that, we hit exactly where what customers wanted to rent and what they wanted to view. And to top that off, we added a very simple way to transact with us. You're either renting or you're returning. And this is what we all have to do as product developers, as business leaders, is simplify the message and the communication and the product value to your customer. Figure out how to eliminate all the clutter and all these other points you're trying to make about the product and get right down to what they want. And so, for me, the message is to simplify everything you do. And there's some great examples of this, out in the world. There are, when you think about going to a gas station, and you never have to worry about which side your credit card is facing for it to read. That's really, really simple. Searching a database at Google and just typing in a few words and coming up with your answer, that's really easy. Amazon one-click, that's an obvious way. And then internally, for internal process, Southwest Airlines, using just one model type so that every pilot understands every pilot and mechanic understands exactly how to fix and how to operate the equipment. Incredibly efficient. And then there's things like turning off the lights. A couple of clicks, and they're off. And they're back on again. I have to remember to pull this out because you can't do both. And so, it's really, if you're a business leader, a product developer, I would encourage you to do a number of things. Take your team off, get away from work, and look at every single process that you use, whether it's selling your product or an internal process, and try to eliminate as much as you can. Simplify every message, whether it's internal or external. Shorten the process to end the transaction. Shorten the process to explain to your investors what your business is all about. And eliminate as much clutter as you possibly can. But what's more important is you've got to remember, as a business leader, a product developer, or working in government, why you're there in the first place. What is it? What was the dream that drove you to start the company, to design the product? What exactly are you trying to accomplish? You've got to dream big and love what you're doing, become an expert, and just make sure you hit it out of the park and never give up. Thank you.
Wait a minute, not yet. I know.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.